the world was just so much bigger than me. Traveling is always something that's so important to me that I purposely carve my time around and design my life experience to accommodate for, because I think it's just an integral part of figuring out who you want to become.
Hey guys, what is up? Katelyn with Gravel here. In today's podcast episode, you're gonna see that we took a completely different take on the podcast, and we actually took it on the go using the Insta360 in New York City with Carrie Lee, who is our guest on the podcast. And we basically just take a walk through Central Park. You'll get to hear a little bit about her story, moving from South Korea with her family to North Carolina, and basically what life was like and being able to travel young and going for it, and basically always not being afraid to book the ticket. She shares a really encouraging message to just really go after what you're trying to do and to make things happen for yourself. If you want to travel the world, you're gonna have to book those tickets. It's scary, but you have to do it. And I think you'll just really enjoy who she is as a person. So let's welcome Carrie Lee to the podcast.
Okay, we're here with Carrie Lee, one of my good friends from way back. Typically on this podcast, basically what we talk about is designing your life for travel and how you have to do that. Like you can't just want to travel and then never go anywhere and be like, oh, it's not happening. Like you have to design your life for it. So I love you've been all over the world. You've seen amazing things, so many incredible experiences. I guess we could start with kind of just your background, if you want to share just a little bit about yourself and I guess how travel got introduced to you. And I know that's in your story, so yeah.
So I was born in Korea, and what I always joke around is I was born with a passport in my hand. My grandparents, my dad's side, loves traveling. My grandparents have been to more countries than I have, and therefore it was really instilled in me from a young age that you live life and you travel, and that's not if you have time. It's that's a priority to see the world, to see things that in a different light that maybe others don't have the chance to. And so I visited my first country outside of Korea, where I was born, when I was 2.5 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I traveled almost every other year from the moment that I was born. So,
so cool. I
jokingly say that I have been to 5 countries before most people have been to their first. And so I think that I always joke around with my parents, you're the reason that I'm this way. I've now been to 29 countries.
Amazing.
Hoping to hit 30 this year with one of the countries that I've never been to. And I think that, traveling is always something that's so important to me that I purposely carve my time around and design my life experience to accommodate for, because I think it's just an integral part of figuring out who you want to become.
Right. That's so true. What was that first country you went to when you were 2.5?
We really weirdly went to Bermuda.
Oh, wow.
From Korea. So I think it was a
How
30-hour
far is
flight.
that?
It was a 30-hour flight.
Holy
and
crap.
my parents just, when I was 2, they were my dad really loves fishing. He loves deep sea fishing. And he said,
Which way, right?
and he said oh, I really want to go deep sea fishing for a week. And we looked at different possibilities of where we could go deep sea fishing. And I think he heard from my aunt, who at the time lived in North Carolina, that Bermuda was a great spot for cheap, long-term fishing.
Wow.
So we went to Bermuda for almost 3 weeks.
Oh, I mean, if you're flying 30 hours, you better be there for multiple weeks.
So we did
60 round trip, I guess.
I know, seriously.
Crazy.
With a 2.5-year-old. I was
Mom,
you're wild.
I mean, that's inspiring. Because I love that. That's so cool. So you went to Bermuda, and then, okay, so you moved from Korea to where in the U.S.?
So we were in North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we went there. We were in between North Carolina and California because my aunt lives in California. One of my aunts lives in California, the other lives in North Carolina. And so we were in between the two, and my parents really wanted to escape the city. We were from Seoul in Korea, which is the biggest city in Korea. And so they were I really want to be in nature. And so they were we're gonna go to where the most nature is, which was North Carolina.
Okay. Wow, that's so wild that they found North Carolina as the most nature-esque
I know.
place in the U.S.
It's like nature plus we
Because
had
there's like
family
Montana,
here, you know?
there's like Colorado, yeah. And then so once you guys came to the U.S., were you traveling like out often, or was it not till you kind of got to your adult life that you started traveling more?
I always share, like, I went on my first solo trip, this sounds so wild, when I was in the 7th grade.
Oh!
I flew all the way to Korea by myself.
Dang.
And it was kind of on accident because my parents weren't intending for me to go on my own. I was supposed to go with a cousin of mine who was a college student at the time, but we had booked our tickets incorrectly. And so it ended up happening that I had to fly by myself.
Wow.
And I was a young middle schooler.
Yeah, that's insane.
So I was like 12, 13, maybe not even. And they were like, okay, well, I always think it's wild that my parents didn't just cancel my flight.
Right. They were like, you can do it. Did
No,
you have one
my
of those
mom-
like chaperone people?
Yeah, so my mom was like, I think that you can do it, and I know that you want to go.
Yeah.
I think we should just do it. My mom is like specifically is very encouraging of independence.
I love that.
And like, especially for women, because she's from a very patriarchal society in Korea. My dad is very big champion. I say he's like our raging feminist, and he was always big on
cute.
like, who cares if you're a girl? Like, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you set your mind to. So my mom was like, you can do it. You're a 7th grader, but you have smarts. Like, you've been on this flight, because I have been to Korea already multiple times before then. So like, yeah, let's do that. And so I flew by myself to Korea. I actually ditched my chaperone at one point because I was like, you're making me sit in a room. Yeah, and I want to explore the airport. So I ditched my chaperone, and so they had to put on the intercom that they were missing a 12-year-old girl.
In what airport?
In JFK.
Oh my God.
It was Hartsfield. In
Okay.
Atlanta. So yeah, they had to like announce that they were missing a 12-year-old child.
Oh my gosh. Iconic. You are the moment.
Yeah, I was the moment.
At 12.
I was the moment going into McDonald's at a Hartsfield and buying a Big Mac by myself with a large Coke.
Iconic.
And they found me, and I didn't even go to find them. I just sat in that food court, just eating and people watching, because that's like my favorite thing to do.
That's like, I feel like when I hear that, I just think like introvert, extrovert at like 50% each. Like, you know, it's like you just wanted a moment to like see the world, but be like alone in it for a moment, and, like be independent.
Exactly.
That's so good. Okay, so you went there in the 7th grade.
Yep.
And then like, as you kind of, you know, on that trip, did anything spark for you? Because now, like, I mean, 7th grade, you're kind of getting like, you know, the mental space of like, oh, travel's fun, or was it not yet?
I think I always found traveling fun.
Okay.
My mom always makes fun of me because she says whenever we would get on an airplane, because like I said, I've been on an airplane my entire life.
Yeah.
She would say, like, the minute I could start talking, I would just talk to the person next to me. I would volunteer if there's like, you know, most big planes, it's like a 3-seat, and the middle's 4 and then the 3.
Yep.
My parents and my brother and my dad like would sit on the 3-seater, and I would sit by myself with a stranger on the 4-seater row.
Yeah.
And just chat with them the whole flight.
I love that.
And so I think like for me, when I traveled alone in the 7th grade, it made me feel really accomplished. Of like, I can do this. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't ever afraid. I don't think I have like a fear gene. My mom always jokes around, but I think like when I went on that trip by myself, I was like, honestly, I think this is the most me that I've ever felt.
That hits right here for me.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I think it just like, it lighted something up that like, since that time, I've never gone with other people. Like I've always traveled alone.
It is crazy how literally, oh, well, have you ever, there's this book called To Shake the Sleeping Self by Jedediah Jenkins. Have you ever heard of that book?
I haven't.
Very good, you'd like it. He basically talks about, it's called To Shake the Sleeping Self, and it's how travel does this thing, whether you're solo or you're with friends, but typically more so when you're solo, that it literally like grabs your shoulders and shakes all your best ideas and thoughts to the top of your head. And you have like a clarity to yourself and to the world that you can't have in your day-to-day routine, because you get way too bogged down by just like, I'm waking up, I'm drinking my coffee, I'm going to work, I'm doing this, I'm seeing these people I know.
Yeah.
Whereas with travel, it's like everything is new and euphoric and like,
Exactly.
you know, exceptional. So
There's drumming. Maybe
that's so cool.
Do we?
Yeah, whatever.
Do you want to go this other way so that it doesn't pop up?
Oh, that's sick. So fun.
Oh my gosh, so cute.
Super cute. Oh, and wedding.
Yeah.
Literally just like jump roping and a wedding at the same time.
with drumming.
Very New York.
Yeah. All at the same time. He's jump roping in the middle of the rotunda. Like,
literally.
Iconic kind of guy, you know? I mean, I guess we could walk through.
So fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, travel was, you started to like find who you were.
Yeah. I think like the big thing was not even like who I was. I realized that too, the world was just so much bigger than me.
Yeah.
And I feel like I as a human thrive off of bettering not just me, but the world around me. And I think like since I was a young child, always told my parents that like I cared less about making a lot of money or becoming really famous. I have always said I just want every person that ever comes to me to leave better than when they came to me.
Okay, I love that.
So I think that when I started traveling, I realized like how I still had an incomplete view of like people. And so I think, yeah, that really impacted me.
That's so amazing. It's so true. Like literally when you travel, you just learn things you never knew. And just in that very thing alone of being like, oh, I never knew this.
Yeah.
Your brain is like, it gets put in its place, I feel like.
Yeah,
You know,
for
it's
sure.
like, I remember the first time I went to Nepal and learning, oh, you don't step over people when they're sitting down because the bottom of your feet, it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
And just that like little act and learning that piece of knowledge, it was like, oh, I'm gonna be more aware now, you know? And it's like just learning those like little type of like awareness points.
Yeah. Oh, so nice.
We can like pause here.
Yeah. I love this.
So nice.
I love classical guitar. It's
I know,
so
it's so
beautiful. The nylon strings just really do something.
So good. That's the kind of guitar I learned on was classical because like it hurt my fingers less.
Yeah.
And then now I'm like, oh, no wonder like the sound is amazing.
Yeah.
I ended up switching to non, but
Yeah.
oh, so cool. Okay, so you know what travel does. You obviously
Yep.
love it. It's changing your life.
Yep.
So then let's say like post high school,
Yeah.
what happens like in your story with travel and
So-
finding a way to integrate it?
Before post travel, actually, before post high school graduation, my brother and I actually went on a 3-month backpacking trip through Australia. And I think that was like the first time that I found like scheduled out portioned travel exciting. Because we literally went there with a ticket, no plans, no accommodations, and we like couch surfed. And mind you, I was 16 at the time. So we like couch surfed. We would go and hang out with random people and then like find a place to sleep for the night. And I think
So fun.
it again opened my eyes like, oh, like this is such a different expression of what traveling looks like, and it doesn't have to cost a lot.
Right.
And so because of that trip, after I graduated high school, I went to college and I worked like 3 jobs.
Oh, wow.
Just to continue to fund me traveling whenever I wanted.
Yep.
So I would work my butt to the bones Monday through Friday. So go to school full time. I would work a cafe job from like 4:30 in the morning till 11, go to class from like 11:30 to 3. I would then work a waitressing gig from 3:34 to like 11 p.m. And I would do that ad nauseum.
Wow.
And then whenever I wanted on a
That
weekend.
takes dedication.
Yeah.
Like you love travel when you're willing to do that.
Yeah. And then on Friday, I'd be like, okay, great. I have the weekend off. I'm going to fly to the Cayman Islands by myself for the weekend. Or I would fly. I think the good part about North Carolina is a lot of like the warm climates is only like 4 hours away. And
True,
so
yeah.
I would like fly to Cancun and go surfing for the weekend. Or I would,
Yeah.
if I had like a prolonged week off, then I would fly, I would like submit all of my classwork ahead of time and fly to like Costa Rica. I spent a week in Costa Rica by myself. And so I think it just solidified for me that like I work so that I can do those things. And that's where I put my
Energy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the like working to live instead of living to work.
Exactly.
And it's that like this is a time exchange so that I can go be in the Cayman Islands or wherever you want to go and like have a great time.
Exactly.
So maybe if there's some like tips or just like thoughts towards like budget travel, how you're saying, you know, you can travel, it doesn't have to cost that much. Like, are there any, obviously with recent economy, things have changed, but there's still ways, right? And it's like more of a mindset than it is, you know, for like saving every dollar.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of like mindset pieces on that you can think of?
I always tell people, choose what's most important to you. So obviously this develops as you grow older.
Yeah.
But like something super tangible and simple is, if you want a cheaper flight, if you're going somewhere super far, just book the harder flight. And what I mean by that is book the flight that has a weird 13-hour layover in like a nondescript country that you've never been to before, because then you can get out of the airport if it's a long flight, and then you can visit another country in the midst of that.
True.
And then also it's going to be cheaper because no one wants to fly that flight.
Yeah, that's true. Long layovers aren't bad as long as you fill them wisely.
Exactly.
And you're not just like a sitting duck in an airport.
Exactly.
Because that is a horrible experience, but it's like, also, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Like, you'll get through it.
And then what I also share too is like, then when you're there, when I was younger, I'm turning 30 this year, so like my priorities have changed just a little bit. Like when I was younger, I would just sleep in like the worst accommodations.
Yeah.
Because it'd be $20 a night.
Right. And you're like, who cares? My back is unbreakable.
Yeah. But now I'm 30. I'm like, I like nice places. I will work again that much harder to have nicer accommodations.
Right.
But I like the Costa Rica trip. I went for an entire week. My flight was $260 at the time. Yeah. Around there. And I volunteered at a surf hostel and I stayed there for free.
So smart.
And I paid a total of around $400 for the entire trip.
Wow. That's so awesome. Yeah, that's another tip that Meredith actually shared on hers, was working at a hostel or volunteering at one for stay and food or whatever it is that you get. Because you're able to literally, like, you pretty much can stay as long as you want. Yeah. It's just up to your time, right? Exactly. It's like, if you have the time to do it, stay as long as you want, and then you get to experience wherever you want to go. She did that in Switzerland, and like, it was like a extreme sports hostel. Ooh. So she got to do like, not skydiving, but paragliding and stuff for free.
So awesome.
Because she like said, oh, I'll film it for you guys. Yeah. You know, and just finding, it's like, that's the mindset of designing your life to travel. You have to be resourceful. Like, literally, if you're not resourceful, it's not going to work. Yeah.
Because then you're going to always make excuses of like, oh, I don't have enough money. But it's actually that not that you don't have enough money, it's that you haven't yet tried maybe like a nondescript way to make it work.
Yep, so true. Yeah, you got to think creatively.
Yeah.
So real. Well, that's so cool. What has been like, probably, you know, doesn't have to be top, but one of your favorite places that you've been, and maybe why?
I always tell people, because a lot of people ask me this question when they find out that I've traveled a lot, and I've been to a lot of countries. And what I'll share is I haven't been to a lot of like the normal countries that people go to travel to, right? Because I did a mission work for 5 years, and so I think that's also a part of my story. Is then it became my job to travel the world and like be in those places. So, you know, it's less of like this glamorous, like Italy, which I've been to, like all of these places. It's more of like, I was on the border of Syria. I was on the border of South Sudan. Like, but honestly, one of my favorite places in the world is Lebanon. Like, I loved Lebanon. I loved the people. I loved the food. It made me fall in love with Middle Eastern culture. I lived in Dubai for a while, and even then, it's like a very different experience. Yeah. And I fell in love with the way that like you could step out in Beirut and you could look to your left and it'd be the mountains, and you could look to your right and it'd be the ocean.
So cool.
Do you want to pop a squat?
Sure. Yeah. I actually have a book that I need to send to you, or get you a version of it. It's called Beirut's, but they spell it like, basically, I think it's with like, just like basically as in roots, you know, like on a map or whatever. And it's so cool. It's like all these like doodles, but then it's like very cool places to go within, you know, Beirut, and like all of just the amazing culture. But then also at the same time, like, here's where a bomb just like recently dropped. And here's like, you know, this is what we do when this happens. And like talking through all of that. For sure. I just found it so interesting because when I was living in Abu Dhabi, there was a girl there who just loved Lebanon, would tell me all about it. I'm like, I need to go. Like, I still have never been. Yeah. And it just sounds like such an amazing place. But I remember, that was what year we were living in Lebanon? Because we knew each other then.
Yeah, it was
like 2017, 18?
No, it was, I think,
16?
2009.
Oh, later. Okay.
Yeah, it was later.
Okay.
Because I went from Dubai and I was in Beirut, and then I was in the mountain areas for a little while. Because we actually had a person on my team then, that's from Lebanon, and so we got to stay at his grandmother's house.
Oh, very cool.
And she had this like hill, because obviously like it's genuinely, you have to take a van.
Yeah.
Like a nondescript van, and then you just like hop out when you know that it's your stop. Like there are no stops. You just like get in,
just know.
and then you let them know like, hey, we're heading up this mountain, and it's like a public van. It's like in essence their bus system.
Yeah.
And you hop on, you like get off at like a certain mountain area, and then you walk down, and it's like this big, not big, but like it's like this house on this cliff, and she has like goats on this cliff and apricot trees and fig trees, and she would make us fresh goat cheese and like apricot jam and fig jam, and it was like it was so idyllic, and it was like winter time, so it was snowing.
Oh wow.
And
so
it was
crazy.
Amazing.
A lot of people don't realize that the Middle East gets very cold.
Yeah, very, very
like
cold.
A lot of times it's just assumed that it's always hot.
Yeah.
I mean, in Abu Dhabi Gulf Coast area, it is pretty much always hot. But like in those mountainous regions, like it is snowing.
Snow.
Like it's snowing.
Yeah. It's like big snow.
Yep.
Yeah, I always joke around like in the Gulf, you get like 2 seasons, summer
and winter.
And like
it's not even winter, but
it's
they call
like,
it winter.
It's like a spring.
Yeah,
it's like
100%.
It's like the U.S. spring.
So true. It's still like the peak temperature is like 65 or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. Unlike here, we're getting that. Actually, it feels so good right now.
Honestly, in the shade is great.
I know. I love it.
I was like thinking about wearing pants today, and I was like, this is not good.
I know.
I think that's the other thing.
I did wear it.
Yeah. I always say, like, I feel like the other big tip about traveling on a budget is like travel light.
Yeah, absolutely. Like for me, it's like carry on or nothing else.
Yeah.
Like you don't check a bag because it literally, like the time you're gonna waste being in waiting for the bags to come out, all that stuff is like 30 minutes you could have spent getting to the place you're trying to go. For me, it's
so people always joke around like capsule wardrobe.
Yeah.
I call it like my traveler's wardrobe. I just lived out 2 big suitcases for like 6 years. And so now I'm not attached to things. I like things, but I don't need it.
I don't need those. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like you really end up always re-wearing outfits anyways when you're traveling because you have like your favorites and you just come to look at a piece and be like, I'm not going to wear that. Yeah. And then you just leave it behind and it's fine. Also, it leaves you space to get some fun new outfits or whatever you want. Like when you're
that's
abroad.
So real.
So cool. Yeah. Well, okay. Do you have any other little things you want to share?
I feel like what I'll speak to as a woman is like, do it. Just do it. Mm-hmm. Go. Even if it means going by yourself, even if it feels a little scary, I promise you it's going to be so worth it to just bite the bullet and go than to always wait for somebody else to go with you.
Preach.
And then when you get there, you'll realize that the world's a lot smaller than you think, and you'll meet some amazing people.
So true.
That will change your life. And how sad would it be if you let fear inhibit you from finding something new about yourself, or, finding your new best friend that you didn't know lived on the other side of the world.
So true.
And so, I would just say go for it. Try it out. You won't regret it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
So
it was
fun.
my pleasure.
You.